you have to be scared. You have to have fear, but you have to control your fear. Then you have a great chance of winning, and then you have a great chance not to get any injury. The more fear you have, the better you control it, the more chances that you're going to dominate in the fight from the beginning to the end.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm super excited by today because our guest today is none other than Oleg Taktarov. You might know him as the Russian Bear from the early UFCs. I know him as an amazing Sambo teacher. He taught me a ton about Leglocks and a ton about grappling, and I still use stuff to this day that he taught me, I want to say 25 years ago. That's about right. We met about 25 years ago, Oleg?
Should be 1996.
1997 or 96, something like that. Yeah. Can you, just for people who don't know, can you talk about your background in Sambo, and then how you got started in Sambo and the martial arts, and then how you ended up fighting in the early UFCs, in UFC 5 and 6 and 7?
Yeah, I didn't have much choice in my city or play ice hockey.
Mm.
It was extremely popular back then, and that's what my father actually did. Or do boxing, which I didn't really like, because most important person, most important key element in any martial arts is a teacher. It doesn't matter what's the name of the martial arts you're studying, but teacher is everything. A good boxing teacher can teach you how to grapple. It's figure of speech. Better than any grappling teacher who has no talent, who has no it's not, if it's not the God didn't give him that ability to control the mind of the student. It's probably one of the few occupations that, not few actually, two occupations which I think are kind of holy. It's a doctor and a teacher. In fact, our prime minister, who's gone by now, told the teachers, if you guys want to get more money, do business. So this was the most unpopular of his speeches.
Mm.
And then he's gone.
Well, you really have a huge responsibility for other people and how they end up developing in life, and the influence that you can have over them is tremendous, especially if you're working with young people.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is I got lucky. That we got a great man come to our town. He was not born in my town. He was after in sport institute, been chosen to go to my city. So we're lucky. He maybe was not a great fighter. He maybe didn't know much of a technique, but he did give every of his student ability to think, to desire more in your life, and he started from small things. He was forcing us to write poetry, talk about the books what we read, and some of the students would be gone in a day or so. They would say, "Hey, that's not where I want. I want to get a strong punch. I want to be able to choke someone." So those guys were gone. And when my teacher celebrated 70 years of his birthday, we had a long table with the people who got successful in life. We had a businessman, famous businessman We had the politicians, we had doctors, we had scientists, we had me on the top of it. So,
and he was teaching Sambo, yes?
teaching Sambo, but at that time, actually, I started with Judo. That's what was more appealing to me, because white gi at the time was kind of cool, because karate looked stupid to me at that time, and but the Judo was just perfect. And since we competed in every single competition which we could find around, and sometimes it would be Judo, sometimes it would be Sambo. So for us, it was not really matter. We just changed the gi and go.
Okay.
Of course, in my city, I didn't learn much of groundwork. It's mostly was the stand-up fighting. My coach was actually more knowledgeable, but he was not afraid to let me go to another school, which was 180 kilometers from my city, and stay there and learn the craft. A lot of teachers are afraid that a student would leave them or betray them in some way. But my teacher, of course, was not. He knew my mind. He knew that I'm extremely loyal. And so I got some new knowledges. Some of the knowledges I share with you 20-something years ago. And I guess I was lucky to get another teacher in my life who knew all the technique. He was not maybe so motivational, although he was twice a world champion. But technique was unbelievable that I had to learn. I still never met a person who knew maybe even 10% that I learned there.
Really?
And there was another man. Once I was in the Ural Mountains at the camp, and somehow that the guy have chosen me. He gave me so much knowledge, and I was not a champ at that time. I was a little champ, I guess. And that guy passed away, Alexander Fedorov, and that guy carried the technique he created. He created all the stuff that work on people in that small town where I was learning Sambo after I left my place where I was from, Sarov. So let's name the place. It's named the Stover, where I was training. And the camp place was Yekaterinburg. And so I was lucky to get most distinctive, unusual, something not typical for other schools technique from two best teachers in Soviet Union at that time. I'm not bragging at all, like Shrek would say. I cooked a mean road rats too. But I was when I look back, I was like why life was so so nice to me back then. I really met greatest people, and I was very carefully memorize, study the craft. I got inside of the ideas, how does it work, and later start creating my own things. And I'm glad I did carry it over the few generations. A lot of people at the seminars get those knowledges now, and they use them, and fortunately they don't know the name of the people I got this knowledge from, but who cares? At least they know that the technique itself. But these days, of course, I teach mostly not just the technique. I try to explain the fundamentals of life, how you should use it, why you shouldn't use it in some cases, how you should present yourself, how you should treat your opponent, how you should treat yourself certain age, certain situations, so it doesn't work. And I think the top of my, I mean, beside, of course, thank you. I like to hear from people what they really think, because a lot of people, of course, just polite after seminars.
Mm-hmm.
But once I was in Petropavlovsk, Kamchatka, you know the Kamchatka, right?
The peninsula.
Yeah, I was at that place, and I was teaching seminar, and of course, a lot of people came because it's it's abandoned place, relatively. You gotta fly there, and everyone came who was interested. There was a lot of people, probably 1,000 people just sitting, just listening, and maybe 200 people on the mat. And after the seminar, I was taking a shower, and I was behind the boxes where the people change clothes, so the students wouldn't see me, but I could hear them. And one of the guys telling another one, there was a strange thing I found. He's just standing next to me, but I understand, I discover all the knowledge just by quietness, by just standing next to him. It's like it was just a spiritual switch from one brain to another. I've been reading about this in some Buddhist Tao Zen books that work actually sometimes when you get the right student. But it never happened to me. Maybe it did happen, but the students would never tell me. But this time I was very lucky to hear this response.
Well, I can certainly speak for myself. I'm still using stuff that you taught, more than 2 decades ago, and I mean, I think that's where I got my love of the knee bar from. So thank you. You've used the knee bar in more than one fight. I think you were the first person. I think I had seen videos of people doing rolling knee bars, and it was one of those things that you watch and you go, yeah, that's just a fancy move because you have run out of other things to show. And then I've lost track of how many times you hit the rolling knee bar in MMA, but you were certainly the first person I ever saw to hit it. And I think in your very last fight, even against Mark Kerr, you hit a
very
rolling.
last one.
Yeah, so it was really cool to see this theoretical technique turn into a real technique. So I've got a question. It's my understanding that most Sambo schools, or many of them, look basically like Judo. I mean, like a Judo that's a bit more creative gripping and maybe a bit more bent over. But then some Sambo schools really specialize in the leg locks. Is that correct?
Not anymore. Sambo had changed. They changed the rules, so it will be more appealing and usable for countries where Sambo was not developed. They needed more countries. They need to show the president of World Sambo is a Russian, and he's Putin's friend. So I guess he got advice to get some into Olympics or something like that, or at least worldwide popular. So Sambo got more simple, and lots of technique has been gone. I see the young guys fighting, they all mostly do the Judo work, in my opinion. Even the Judo got cut in half, and one useful half, most effective half, been just thrown in the garbage. In Judo, you can't touch legs anymore when you fight. So
it's not only you can't touch them, you get kicked out if you do.
Yeah, so many things been off. We have a special Sambo grips, which I used all the time when I fight young, tough Judo guys. Like, for example, I have been throwing a few times a world champion among students from Japan. He was a big guy, probably 260 pounds, came to judo school in LA, and I was not fighting at that time for a long time. So I was probably around 40, and he was at his prime. And I said, hey, I haven't been on the mat for a long time, and I do not know how to judo been doing. I mean, I don't know how the judo had changed the rules and stuff. I mean, is it okay if I take like Sambo grips when you get one arm out, or some we call it Georgian technique when you get half the body out, but just by the grip. And of course, he was saying, "Look at me, I'm much older." I said, "Yeah, you can do whatever you want." So I have thrown him 6 times, and he couldn't do anything because I just a control of his movements. So he was pretty pathetic looking when we were fighting. So that's what I'm saying. Once they start losing, the judo Congress changed the rules. Once they start losing from this takedown, especially Japanese, the founders, they say this takedown is illegal, this grip is illegal, this half of the body is illegal, because I guess lots of wrestlers would go for the double leg takedown or something.
Which was one of the original techniques in judo. Jigoro Kano had it in his Gokyo, in his 67 techniques, but I guess that doesn't count anymore.
I would say original judo is so much like original Sambo, and or if you get the jiu-jitsu, Sambo, and the judo together right now, if you just combine all the technique which is allowed, that probably would be the original judo. So that's what we are.
So I don't know if you've been following in the last sort of 10 years the emergence of the nogi grappling scene in North America with things like EBI and ADCC has been around forever, but Polaris, all these nogi competitions at a very high level, with leglocks being probably the most common way those matches get finished. Leglocks and rear naked choke. And the emphasis on especially the heel hook and the reverse heel hook. What do you think of that when you watch that evolution in grappling? And I don't know if you have had the time. I mean, you've been in Russia, you've been working in film. I don't know if you've managed to watch those competitions at all.
Look at my arms. I mean, they have no handles. There's nothing really, like when you get sweat, there's nothing really to hold it. I mean, there's no it's hard to hold the wrist, hard to hold the elbow, and of course, someone's arms are shorter and stronger. It's very tough to get any arm submission. With the chokes, of course, it's most probably popular way to finish the fight, especially with the leg chokes. But everyone knows the defense. Everyone been learning defense from the time they started taking the lessons. So you have to surprise. Every time you have to come up with something new if you want to win. Because on the top level, they both know the defense very well. They're both strong. They're both fast. Condition-wise, they can grapple for hours. So they got to surprise. They got to come with a new technique, and the only way actually is go to the legs if you wanted to surprise your opponent, because other stuff has been well known for years. So people trying to discover a new way to finish. And with the legs, it's a little bit easier because it's easier to control. Easier control the foot, because foot is not like the wrist, which you can pull out anytime. Foot is if you control foot with your arm properly, there's no way you can pull the foot out. If you control the legs with your legs, it's also tough to get the leg out and out of the control. So there's lots of ways to finish the fight. I remember when I worked with the Japanese, wrestling federation. They want me. They want to promote their sport. They want to sign me up, and they told me, "Oleg, can you do the Guinness record? Just numbers of technique that exist." So I start calculating just approximately how much technique it would be. So when it's like a branches. Branch goes this way, then goes this way. So I roughly calculated, and it came to 12,000. I'm like, we gotta come up with the names. I don't know the names.
So you also trained in Sambo in the army, is that right?
I was actually even teaching special forces at the camps.
Okay.
In Nizhny Novgorod, we had some campsite for the training of the special forces, and we had the people from all over, just from regular police to KGB, or like something similar to SWAT, something similar to I don't know, American or Canadian special forces, but like in KGB, it would be Alpha Group. They would come up with all sort of names, but same people like everywhere, except that they didn't have a big belly like others. They were okay with the shooting, but they didn't have much knowledge when it comes to fist fighting or just even the knife defense. And actually, I was shooting better than them after running. With a 1 mile of running, then jumping over certain things, then doing some stuff, and then we had to shoot. And I remember me and my friend, we finished, were more accurate with shooting because they couldn't breathe. They were too tired. So they were missing a lot. I mean, in a normal shooting, they're much better, but when you get yourself into that situation when you have to breathe and you don't have enough air.
It's sort of like a biathlon, except running and jumping. So it's funny that you taught that, because so many people who are just focused on guns and handguns are like, man, I'm just going to shoot the guy. If somebody attacks me, I'm just going to shoot them. But then if that's true, then why is the KGB training and why is Alpha Group training in Sambo and empty-handed stuff?
There was not any other. I mean, original Sambo, combat Sambo, has all the dangerous technique. I personally don't teach to kids or some other people. I feel some of the Sambo stuff are unnecessary, too violent, and if you do technique in order to destroy your opponent, just not nice. I feel that if I would be teaching this,
But what about the effectiveness? Like, why are Russian special forces training in empty-handed martial arts? I'm just seems like a dumb question, but so many people insist that you would just use a gun for every situation.
Well, first of all, there are so many ways of disarm you if in a close distance. Plus, not many people can really shoot the person. I mean, you gotta have certain guts for it. You gotta have a habit of killing people. If you never kill anyone, I don't think that you're gonna ever push the trigger. So then I've seen so many street shootouts, and sometimes people shoot at each other in a very close distance. They couldn't send the bullet to the right spot. It's people talk too much. You know, they used to, when I did the seminars, we had some fancy karate people come. Hey, what about if I punch you here? I said, yeah, go ahead, punch me here. I'm not gonna feel it. You know why? Because you don't have all your body involved in this punch. Your punch is too weak, and all the crap you're doing here, you don't have legs behind. You don't have a body behind it. You don't have a hip behind it. So you don't have any power. So I don't really care what you're gonna do. It's gonna take me 10 seconds to finish you at any moment of my life, even if I sleep and you come to kill me. And a lot of people say, hey, I'm gonna use a knife. It's very tough to use knife. It's a special technique that you use knife to hide the knife, because when you see the knife, it's very tough to stick the knife in the right spot. You can cut somebody, just make somebody more angry. You can shoot somebody, but you can make somebody just more angry by let's say, you shot some skin or some spot which is not dangerous, and you shoot them like, oh fuck, what I've done. That's what people first think what they're gonna do. Plus their responses. I mean, from the justice people, that's what people are going to think first. First, they're going to ask you, why do you have a gun? Second, why did you use gun in this case?
Yeah.
Are you? I mean, yeah. And many more questions can be asked by judge. So people, of course, now these days think about it. In LA, I mean, in America, I had some street fights, and I learned very quickly after punching one freak in the liver in the Dallas street joint, and the guards let me go, and they say, "Don't ever come here anymore because of you. You're gonna thank us." I know you're right. I know he's drunk. I know he was, forcing a customer, some girl, to dance. I know. But he's a star of football in the past, and of course he's American. You're not, and you're gonna be guilty, no matter what. And I just punched the guy in the liver, and left. After that, I was thinking, okay, what I can do in the United States not to get caught. And I remember at the parking lot once I had a little disagreement. I mean, he had a disagreement, I didn't have any, with some local gang member. He looked to me Mexican or Salvador or something. And the first thing he did when he saw me approaching, he opened the door in his car and started attacking me from his car. And I was just standing there. And the first kick he did, I got the leg under my armpit and broke his foot. Second kick he did, I broke his other foot. And I was loud enough to say, hey, man, it hurts. Stop kicking me. So I left him in his car with broken feet. And my friend, who's American, told me, hey, Oleg, you got to come back. I'm sure the guy is going to call the police. I say, no, he act like his gang member. Like he's no, those guys, the first ones who are going to call the police. So he was right. There was two cops there when I came back. And the cops were kind of laughing when they saw me. I guess they were investigating what happened. And the cops asking, Oleg, what happened here? I said, I don't know. I mean, the guy kicked me with this leg, and then he kicked me with another one. I was trying to block myself because I don't want to be kicked in the liver. Well, feet are broken. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but I gotta cover my liver. I gotta cover my kidney. I'm sorry. Next time I will never do this. He can kick me in the soft spot. And the cops were laughing. There was some funny conversation, I guess. So, and then they asked me, hey, just get the fuck out. What's your problem? He said, Oleg, I mean, this guy, he tore on my pants. Yeah, of course I tore his pants because I gotta hold the leg. Mm-hmm. So, and my American friend gave him $20. Is it enough? $10 for each side. So he took the $20 and left.
So let's jump to the UFC, because you fought in UFC 5, which is a very, very different Ultimate Fighting than it is now, right? I mean, now it's a sport. Back then, it was really being promoted as kind of a blood sport, and is somebody going to die tonight? What were you thinking?
That's what I was thinking every time, that I'm going to die tonight when I would enter the octagon.
Really? So, and you were okay with that?
I was not okay with it, that's why I had to win. I mean, but 2 times I was not thinking about I'm going to die. I didn't care. And those times I lost. There was only 2 times I lost. It's the end of my career when I didn't care. You have to be scared. You have to have fear, but you have to control your fear. Then you have a great chance of winning, and then you have a great chance not to get any injury. The more fear you have, the better you control it, the more chances that you're going to dominate in the fight from the beginning to the end.
Okay.
Fear is a natural way of raising your energy in the fight. The worst thing when you don't have fear. I mean, I can tell to the young listeners, and I always tell it to the students, don't be afraid to have fear. Just avoid thinking about it. Control your mind. Just try to you accept it. Accept it that you have fear, but just find, like, for example, I'm working in the yard these days so much. So we can't go anywhere in Russia. I don't know how situation in Canada right now, but with this COVID-19, we have to stay home. Although in my city, it's not so much strict like in Moscow, but still. And sometimes you feel like, oh, you're wasting your time in life. You have some certain thoughts that you want to have some drink or little pot or something. And instead of doing it, you just work. When you work, you don't think much.
So how did you control fear? I mean, you walked in, you didn't have easy fighters. I mean, like, you fought Dan Severn, you fought Dave Beneteau, you fought Tank Abbott, you fought Ken Shamrock, you fought Marco Huas. These are all super tough guys. So how did you control your?
Yeah, of course you have to understand you can win. Second, you have to make the first step. When you made the first step into octagon and the octagon is closed behind you, your body is going to take the control. You don't have to think too much. Your body will think for you. The instincts will work. And there is, of course, from here to there, there's a way you can, you have to just do something over any logic, above any logic, any common sense. Just step in, step over. But you train for it. I mean, you have to understand that Tank Abbott or Ken Shamrock is not more dangerous than a bull. And you've been with the bulls. Plus, once I had a fight in Russia with probably around 30 people. I mean, there were gangsters. There were actually the ballot pickers. I'm not sure what's the name of this occupation.
I don't know.
Just crime, little crime, yeah. So, and they were celebrating, I guess.
Like mafia?
Like a mafia, but small ones. That one goes on the buses and in places and take the money from your. Mostly they were little guys, but some of them were on the pot. They were high, but it's still they started playing with my friend, and I had to step over. And I had a fight with, like I said, probably 30 people. I had 8 people stay on the floor, and another one gone when the police came. And I remember police were start yelling at me. I said, guys, get the fuck out of there, or you're going to be laying down with them. At that time, police sometimes would listen to those things. And it was 1991, I think. And that was a first time when I naturally used all my technique. For example, first time when I competed at the jiu-jitsu, irigumigo, means the full contact. I was just punching the guy. I was just trying to use my fist. I didn't take any chances to take him on the ground. It was my first competition. And then I start thinking, I gotta use what I'm strong at. So the next competition, next fight, actually not in competition, next fight, I already took the guy on the ground, finish him at the final. It was even faster. And then I used this style, carry the style later to the UFC. But then that time when I was fighting to those number of people, I learned, I naturally punch, take down, taking somebody and using him as a shield, or throw him on somebody and go on the ground. They're doing foot sweeps, go on the ground. If you have a chance to break somebody's arm or leg real quick, if nobody's around for a split second, you do this. So one guy is out, and visually it looks scary.
Yes. And
people would stay away from me. So when I say I was fighting to 30 people, I would probably say that maybe 10 people was really involved in the fight. Others were just around, and they were scared to come because they saw what happened to the previous guys with their friends, and they were scared. So,
well, having seen you compete over the years, I don't doubt that story at all, because the level of technique and the level of heart you've shown in your fights has just been amazing. What was your hardest fight? I want to guess that it was a Tank Abbott fight when you won and then had to go to the hospital because you were fighting at such high elevation.
They asked me to go to the hospital, and in the hospital they told me my blood is too thick. You don't have any fluid, so I didn't drink enough water. I never had experience fighting in a high altitude, and that was the reason why fight was pretty hard. Later in Denver, same altitude, I was feeling okay in the 3 fights. So I guess, yeah, the most the toughest fight is before the fight. Toughest fight is fight in your mind, when you have to calm yourself down, or when you have to start thinking about, because months before the fight, you can just burn yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
Week before the fight, you can be done already.
Yeah.
Then suddenly you can find something left in you hour before the fight, or vice versa. Some people can burn themselves hour before the fight. They start being too excited, and when they enter the cage, nothing is left.
Is that just experience? Is that just screwing up a bunch of times and then getting it right?
Yes. I was doing so many Judo and Sambo competitions where you had to fight for from 3 to 5 fights per day. And you know how to reserve your energy, how to spread your energy over the whole tournament. Because a lot of people throw everything. Like, for example, Ken Shamrock, he would spend all his energy in the first round, in the first fight, and the second fight he would always take himself out because of the injury or he just would be so tired because he never competed in multiple fight competitions. It's an experience, yeah.
Now, I know that, and I've seen it. You fought you moved into boxing, and you had a famous fight with Dolph Lundgren, actually, Ivan Drago, uh, and what I remember watching that and going, oh my God, Oleg moves like a boxer. Like, you really, really improved your striking for that, I thought. Like the head movement and the confidence with the hands. It's rare to see. I know you weren't a pure grappler, but it's rare to see somebody who specializes in grappling to become that good at striking. Like, they always look like they're grapplers trying to strike and push their punches, and you didn't look like that at all.
First time I moved like a boxer was at the Pentagon Combat in Brazil, where I beat the guy Sean Olivers. But not many people, I guess, made the.
Was that the event that got where Eugenio Tadeu was fighting Gracie, and then the crowd jumped in and somebody fired a gun and it just total chaos?
Yes. And I say all my guys. I said to all my guys, Vern, Tiger, White wanted to look what happened there. I said, no fucking way. You're gonna be staying in the dressing room. And Frank Shamrock just smiled at us. Nobody wants to leave the room because there was guns.
So all that crazy stuff went on when you guys were already back in the dressing room.
This competition, actually, I won the fight and I went to see the final fight.
Tadeu and Enzo.
Yeah. And then it was so easy to get to the octagon. I mean, it was actually the Pentagon, because there was like the tunnel, and people would not. They would be so American, not Brazilian. They would be like keep the distance. I was like, wow, wait, Brazilians are they can really follow the rules. And I didn't know that half of them were jiu-jitsu fans and another half were the Libre fans. So of course they wouldn't connect. So I was in the middle, and when somebody poked a knife in, I think Gracie's back or vice versa, I'm not sure. Then the human and the audience fight had started. Everybody's looking at me. I mean, they were looking at each other, but I was in the middle, so it feels like everybody's looking at me. I was so scared. I just ran out of there, and then I hear the gunshot. I'm like, fuck, guys, we're gonna stay here until the
you weren't at the Khabib Conor McGregor fight that also ended in a riot, were you? You're not the common denominator of this?
No, I wasn't there. I was home. Yeah. And speaking of boxing, I started doing boxing at age 29, I believe. And I took 6 months of young boxer training. So everything I did is what a boxer would do. And then probably another 3 years sparring. I sparred with Klitschko before his fight with Lewis for 4 rounds. And toughest sparring was with James Toney. I mean, I felt
really.
Yeah, that's the boxing. That's the boxing, yeah. And I was like, shit, you know what? I don't think I want to do boxing at all. So it was.
So you said you did 6 months. Were you doing other things, or was that just boxing, just focusing on boxing?
Boxing for 6 months, so I had to change my mind to the boxing, and then I was mixing up boxing with the grappling and other stuff. But 6 months were just straight boxing, and then probably maybe 6 years total doing boxing most of the time. And when I was teaching, when I had a school in LA, sometimes I would have 40 people on the mat, 39 people, and I would let one guy come to the ring and spar with me. And I practiced just the defense. So eventually I would have 40 people spar with me. So I felt confident that there's no way somebody could get connected. When you get one student, another student, and everybody have different technique, but nobody can connect with you. Of course, you get some overconfidence, and that's what happened with Dolph Lundgren. channel number one who put the show together, they want to have a Tyson. So I called US. They said Tyson can't leave the country, and I told my guys, when we have this guy, we have this guy, you choose. So they say, hey, how about Dolph Lundgren, Ivan Drago? I said, yeah, let's do a Drago. I call him. I have the number. And when I spoke to his manager, I said, hey, I promise, guys, you gotta come. I promise I'm not gonna punch him in the face, because I felt confident, I felt good. I'm not gonna punch him in the face, but he did Kyokushinkai.
Right. Yeah, he's like a second-degree black belt in Kyokushin or something.
Right. And if it's okay, then you guys come and I give you my award. And later we did a movie with Dolph Lundgren, and I said, look, you're a man of your word, so let's get my friendship forever. So I saved his face from any injuries. He made money, and I guess he was not very happy about it, that fight made such a big. Got so many viewers. Mm-hmm. It was just probably in a week we got 3 million people watching it, and then it was 5 million people. Then eventually everyone watched it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Russia here.
He's considerably bigger than you. I don't know if you know that. The two of you standing side by side. He's got at least 6 or 8 inches taller than you.
He was not bigger than Klitschko.
True.
He's more skillful than Klitschko.
Yeah. So you're teaching in Russia, but are you still involved in TV and movies?
Yes, that's my main job. That's what's been paying my bill for the past 4 years probably.
Is that the Ex-Wife show? I've never seen it. I don't speak Russian.
I got more than probably 100 shows I've done. It's,
okay.
It's just many. Some of the films you can see on YouTube or some other stuff, you probably just don't know what the film it is. But sometimes they would put voiceover. One of the most popular that a Russian gangster who I played talks about the main idea for Russian, like what they should carry to be number one nation. So he's driving a car and just talking about. Yeah, I can send you a link later.
Sure. I'd love to see it. You can
put Generation P.
Okay.
The name of the book, Generation P, Oleg Taktarov, keywords, and you might gonna find it.
Okay. Are you doing any work in North America as well? Or I know you did work in Hollywood for a while.
I've been scheduled for 2 movies in America, and looks like it's going to be postponed a bit because of the coronavirus. And I should be in America now. Plus, I had 5 seminars scheduled in Brazil in April, and I was really excited about it because I wanted to go to Argentina after and watch how people collect this drink. It's yerba mate.
Right.
It's one of my favorite drinks now, probably the most favorite for past 20 years. So I want to go to Argentina, and I was already picturing myself having a steak in Buenos Aires and drinking Mambo. So instead, I'm drinking mate in my house.
Almost as good. Almost as good.
Yeah, because I have my older son with me. And yesterday he helped me a little bit with I built up a road from the wood, from the logs, from cut logs. It's like a old Russian style.
Yeah. Isn't it Rocky who's supposed to be training old Russian style, and the Russians supposed to be training with scientific high-tech stuff?
Nobody. Actually, Rocky was doing the Russian style.
Yeah.
He took the style of training for Alexander Karelin and some other guys. So it was all vice versa. High-tech stuff was Americans. I think.
Have you ever trained with Karelin? Have you ever met or trained?
We're friends, but he was out of sport. Actually, I came to his fight in 1996 in Atlanta just to see him winning, and then we celebrated all night in a Waffle House because everything was closed, and we stayed in the Waffle House, and everybody was looking for Karelin for all night, all the media, and we were staying in the Waffle House, and a couple more guys probably had some bottle of scotch with us.
What in the movies? What would be your favorite role to play if you could make any movie? And you could star in it? What would you be? Who would you be?
I would be delighted to play Ashepkov, the founder of Sambo, if it comes to sport. But I like playing something new. I mean, some people dream about playing Shakespeare, but so many people play Shakespeare. So what the hell? I mean, I want something new. I want something exclusive. I want something that never been done before. So definitely it has to be a great script. The script has to have so many fundamentals, elements that even the fight, it would be nice because I usually don't take the acting job where my character has to fight. I want to save it for later when you get a good script. Figure of speech again. If I explain to you simple way, I wouldn't want to do blood sport. I want to do raging bull.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Story behind it when you can do your acting.
Yeah, it's still one of the best movies of all time. So hopefully there's the Russian Raging Bull, the Russian Sambo movie.
I had one movie in Russia that when I got my gray hair. Just one scene, I got gray hair, and that's how I knew. Because later we were shooting the first stuff. It was 8 episodes TV series, and we shot the last scene the first day, and then start moving kind of vice versa to the first scenes. And I had the gray hair throughout the whole movie, and at the end, my hair was dark. So when I was shooting the scene, I was okay, and after I got gray hair. Yeah, I can also send you the link or something. I can even post on that.
Yeah. Well, Oleg, I'm glad to see you're still doing seminars. And are those going well? Like, is there good demand? It's a lot of traveling you need to do, but you're also doing them in Russia.
Right now, I got pretty high paid man, and when I do seminars, I usually have to meet the governor. I usually have to open some business or some school or some stadium or something, and I have to talk to the kids. Then I maybe even have a night for people who like the theater, who watch the movies. And maybe have one seminar. So usually I get it's more complicated now, not just going like used to in British Columbia.
Yeah.
We had
we had some weird people show up to those seminars in British Columbia. I still remember some of the crazy people who'd show up and do their full martial arts demo like 5 seconds before you're about to start teaching, complete with like screaming sidekicks and death touches, and man, that was the early days of the mixed martial arts, and people were crazy.
Yeah, now I can handle them, but this time I learned how to handle people, how to feel the energy before, and so now I'm pretty much an expert in dealing with the people. Mm-hmm. Up to 200 people, I even know without looking who's doing what kind of mistake or anywhere I can found. I just know it. I know it's worked differently. We end up on a white horse. We started in a Kelowna and end up in a white horse with those seminars.
Really?
Yeah.
All the way up to the Yukon.
Yeah.
And what did you think of the Yukon? Remind you of home?
It was a great moment. I remember we were driving that night. I was sleeping, and there was a road and snow on the left side and the right side. It's probably like 3 meters of snow. It was it was just a small tunnel for the cars. And if you had a big truck, I don't think we would be able to pass each other. And I remember the gigantic moose jump over this the snow.
The wall of snow.
Fence, yeah, and he just stood on the road when we slammed the brakes and looked at us, and I had a horn. He was so big. I mean, I never seen a moose as big as this one. And then he jumped over another fence of snow, and like, what was that? I mean, I grew up with the mooses, but I never seen moose as big as this one. It was probably 1 meter taller than the biggest moose I ever seen in my life, anywhere in the zoo or somewhere. There was some gigantic, prehistorical moose, I think.
At 120 kilometers an hour, it's not a good meeting. Only bad things happen.
Yeah, we're not driving that fast because we were driving snow road, but still we were about 100 kilometers at least. I don't know how we stopped because that was crazy.
Okay. Well, Oleg, I'm going to, your day is beginning, my day is ending. I hope we cross paths again. I hope you make it to Argentina and can drink fresh yerba mate while eating a gigantic steak on the beach.
Thank you.
Take care, my friend.
One of conversation. Cheers. Thanks.